what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's light. And bright stars through the perilous fights. Oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket trembling, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land under the free and the home of the brave? Because we are the brave. Yes, we are the brave. We'll fight you in the name of the brave. We are the US of A. For those unaware, that flag is still there. It's our future to save. It's land of the brave, the US of A. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Okie dokie. Am I on? Yeah, I'm making noise. I just double checked. Okie dokie, kids. Us deployables are back. I want to say howdy. And where'd the retarded duck go? I don't know. Somebody wants to know where the retarded duck goes. When? I don't know.
You're talking about this?
No, retarded duck. This is Crazy Uncle Bob. He comes up with some crazy things. I don't know what retarded duck he was talking about, but anyway. Okay, yeah, I'm glad you hear me. Thanks for letting me know that, because we've been having all kinds of technical problems down here. And I went through and cleaned out my hookup to get onto YouTube, hoping that would make it more simpler and a more steady stream, because they were saying my stream was unsteady.
Oh, God. Well, you did have prostate trouble, so that's to be expected.
So anyway, we went and did some cleaning out of the computer here, and we replaced a piece of cable on our transmitter because we were having all kinds of problems with it staying going so that we could transmit FM. So if you're listening out there and driving around the town of Meadville, we are back. We've got the antenna working, but we have uncovered another flaw in our programming, and it's that we're going to try and correct in the next couple of days. And that is the radio DJ, which switches our programming for the day from different, so we can cover a different variety of stuff, has stopped working. And, I know it. They want to know where the parrot is. You want to show them the parrot back there, Scott? We still have the parrot. And there you go. Does that make it look better? And that so. So anyway,
He's been put in the corner. He was saying all kinds of pro-Biden stuff.
Yeah, he'd been bad.
Bad parrot.
Bad. And not only was he saying pro-Biden stuff, but he was calling it effing Biden.
Oh, no.
Anyway, we now have the one bug to work out on our DJ to get that thing back up. So, but before I go any further, just in case there is somebody out there listening, I got a list of gun shows coming up here. Starting with the month of January of 2021. And here we are 10 days into the first of the year, and it's still the same crappy weather and shit outs going on. Anyhow, on the 23rd and 24th of January is the Coney Lake Gun Show. Repeat date. Coney Lake Gun Show at the Coney Lake Sportsman's Club, at the Sportsman's Club off of Route 18. And then next week, or the week after that, not next week, but the week after that, the 29th and 30th. Yeah, I said 29th and 30th. That's a Friday afternoon show. Friday afternoon, early evening, and then back on Saturday because it is an Amish-sponsored show, and they don't do that stuff on Sundays. So at Shippensville, that's right straight down 322 from Beagle here, approximately 50 miles. Ginger tea. Ginger black tea.
Oh, I'm seeing all over Facebook that Texas is being pelted with snow.
Yeah, couldn't you have them to a nicer state?
I feel bad for them. Those folks down south, they get half-inch snow on the ground. They lose their ever-loving mind.
Yeah. Now, there is one scheduled for February, but I didn't get it marked in here. And there's also one scheduled for March. That one I didn't get marked in here either for some reason. But in April 10th and 11th, at Cherry Tree Township Fire Hall, Cherry Tree Road, Titusville, we will be having a show. That's what I'm sponsoring. So if you are out there, I would say try and make it if you can. Because I've been following the ammunition crisis, and it's not going to get any better now that we have a change of administrations. Then the Jefferson County Fairgrounds on the 17th and 18th over by Ashtabula, Ohio. That is April the 17th and 18th. So, Jack, if you're out and about, want to stop by, that's fine. And then that's what I got in line of gun shows for right now. So I will take this back up, and I will be digging through and trying to find some more. Oh, wait a minute. Let's see what I got here. Then I had these. Oh, come on here, you bricks. Okay.
Good shot.
This one is coming up in January. This one is, that one is over. It was hand shield.
2 in a row.
And then this one was November the 14th, 15th at Hickory. That one was canceled. And then Ashtabula County Fairgrounds, that's not the one coming up. This was last October. So, anyway.
You missed that one.
No, how many did I get? I shot 4.
All but that one.
3 of them. All right. That's good for not being able to see the basket. So, okay, to answer your question there, Jack, where's Mr. T? Well, I talked to him earlier in the week. His knee is getting better. He can at least start to walk again. But he is still having problems with his brother-in-law and sister-in-law. They're squatting in a house that belonged to his wife's mother, I believe it is. And they're not supposed to be there. And they came up from Florida because they want to contest the will. They don't like the conditions of the will. So anyhow, Mr. T has been dealing with that, and his brother-in-law, as Mr. T said, is a very mean person. So he's not necessarily willing to leave his family down there unprotected because they are not that far away from that house that his brother-in-law couldn't do anything. He has made threats against family members before, so just take it for what it is. They have engaged their lawyer to get to contact their lawyer to tell them they have no right to be in the house, that they need to vacate it. But all this takes time. So anyway, when I was talking to Mr. T, that's the current situation. No, the bear didn't get him yet. In fact, he said he hadn't seen the bear, so maybe the bear went into hibernation or somebody ate it. Yeah, he's been, get a hold of him on FB, because I don't think he's been banned from FB, but you can try. And that, so anyway, and if you do, tell him we're still plugging away up here. For how much longer, we don't know. I have been reading some serious stuff about the plans to come down after the Bidens get in and get squared away and get their government up and running. So all I can say is it's the same rhetoric: confiscation of guns, ban on magazines, registration of guns, registration of magazines, whatever.
Mine all fell in the lake.
Oh,
Terrible boating accident.
Scotty, Kenneth wants to know, how are you feeling after the shot? You didn't get
I did not get the shot. I was going to, but I changed my mind for a bunch of different reasons. But many of my coworkers got it, and many of the residents where I work have gotten it, and I haven't heard of any adverse reactions with people who had COVID and people who haven't had COVID.
Well, my nephew, who is a pharmacist, he got it. And according to my brother, the only problem he had with it was the sore spot around his arm where they gave him the shot.
That's pretty much everybody. Yeah. But, any vaccination you get, you're going to have a certain amount of soreness.
But here's the catcher. It's too early to get an idea of what the adverse effects are. Remember, they just started doing this, 3 weeks ago? Yeah.
I think the proof will be in the pudding when they start doing the second round, because this is a two-part vaccination. So, I don't know. I don't know nothing.
Crazy Uncle Bob says, Daryl, aren't you glad I wasn't elected? I don't know. Tell you the truth, Crazy Uncle Bob there, I did meet you once, but I don't know if that's enough to make a judgment as to whether or not I wanted you as president or not wanted you as president. And all I can tell you is if I was president, I would have handled things a lot different with all this rioting that's been going on in the big cities. Portland, Seattle, wherever else. And that I would have told the mayors and the governors, you got 24 hours to put the stop to that shit, or all funds are going to be shut off within 3 days. All funds, no support, no money. Money speaks, people. But anyway, it may sound like I'm a hard person. No, I believe everybody has the right to demonstrate and express their feelings, but not to the tune of where they do bodily injury or destroy private or public property. Let's put it that way. And once you do that, you've crossed the line and are now committing a criminal activity, and you should be arrested accordingly. And how do I feel about those that broke into the White House down there? I feel the same way. Standing outside and protesting and screaming and hollering and all that, that was fine. That's your right. But once you crossed over the barriers and went in and started smashing windows and doors or doing bodily injury to the campus police, you've crossed the line. And so someday that may have to be, but that was not the time. So anyway, okay, Scotty, you want to tell me about that thing you showed me?
Oh, this came across my, I think, Facebook or some such nonsense. I did a quick little screenshot. It is. I'll send it out to you, Jack. I may have already sent it, but it's the article. The blurb is, NPR accidentally released an article at 9 a.m. about Trump supporters' clash with police in Congress electoral count of votes being halted, hours before anything like this ever occurred. Advice to the deep state: if you're going to carry out a false flag, at least do it well. And there is a picture on this from NPR. Trump supporters storm U.S. Capitol, clash with police, and that was January 6, 2021 at 9:33 a.m. So, like I said, I'll send it out to you, Jack, if I haven't already done so.
So, well, anyway, going along with that, my son and I, we talked quite, here comes Mom.
Mr. T called and said he was trying to get you on YouTube.
Yeah.
Live YouTube, and you weren't coming over. He could get 3 shows from last week or the week before, but he couldn't get YouTube.
Well, the kids in the chat room got it.
Oh.
Okay.
Well, he just called and said that.
Okay.
Said that.
Okay. Said that. Tell him, did he hang up?
I hung up from him.
Okay. Scotty, have Jack, text Jack. Jack, you can hear me, listen to this. Text Mr. T on Facebook. Or if you've got his landline, give him a call. Tell him that when he comes onto that and he has the 3 things from last week, down underneath there is a D. The format has been changed. I don't know who did it, but anyway, there's a D down there. He has to push that to bring up the show. Because all the kids here, they've got it.
Okay.
So anyway, Thank you, dear.
You're welcome.
Yeah. And maybe I'll call him after I get
Yeah.
done. Jack, he got it. Okay. Uncle Bob said hi, Kathy.
Tell Uncle Bob I said hello.
Yeah. Uncle Bob, Kathy said hello. Okay. Now, as I was starting to say, in relation to what you were talking about there, Scott.
Your wife made it cold in here. Crikey.
Well, it's cold outside. What do you want?
Not to be cold in here. Crikey.
Anyway, he and I were talking yesterday, to be exact. He was out hunting and got cold, came in. And he got a thing, I think he said it was on Facebook. And he said, I wished I had downloaded it because he said what it showed was the people leaving the Trump rally point where Trump was talking to the people. And as they were marching down to the Capitol building, state police or some military or some police agency, I won't say state, but some police agency was escorting some buses down there. And the people got off the bus and they infused into the crowd right at the front of the crowd. And then if you watch the video of the news feeds, you see when the crowd starts up the steps, the police are holding them back for a while, and then all of a sudden the line they just leave and go up, and they don't even put a line in front of the door, and they just step off to the side of the balcony and let the people go. One senator, I can't think of his name, said it's a typical tactic or antics of the trait of the Antifa, which, by the way, does not exist according to Biden. So
It's an idea.
yeah. So anyway, Mr. Uncle Bob, I remember that announcement on building number 7 in the 911 attack. They were going to implode it. Well, you know how long it takes to rig any building to be imploded. It takes weeks. So they have to go in and drill all the weak spots, or not weak spots, but all the spots that they have to cut. But yet this building was done in less than an hour and brought down. And then, like he said, BBC had reported it early. Yep, the crisis boy, the Buffalo boy. I see you are now one of the leaders of Black Lives Matter was down there at Washington participating in the rioting.
What's this now?
One of the leaders of the Black Lives Matter.
Oh, that jackass with the Native American gear on?
I don't know if that was the one, but there was one that was down there that admitted that he was down there taking part in that. So anyhow, things are not well. And I have a feeling they're going to get sick before they get better, or get worse before they get better.
I don't think so.
You
I
don't
think it's
think-
going to be nice.
You don't think? You think
Well-
the coronavirus is going to go away as soon as Biden says his oath to the office?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. We'll keep track of that, folks. Remember that. If it happens, Scotty was right.
I'm always right, even when I'm wrong. I'm a lunatic.
You're just less right than you are wrong.
I'm something. That's for sure. I'm something. Scientists haven't figured it out what yet, but I'm something.
Oh, that's all right, G.I. Joseph. You can't remember everything. The only reason I remember is because you had made that other statement in the foreground. So, yeah. So, anyway.
I received a video, since we're on the whole DC chaos bit. There's a gentleman by the name of Dustin Williams. He put out a video. It's kind of it's a bit long. It's like a good 30 minutes long. And I think I did send it to you, Jack. He goes on quite the diatribe, but he was saying that him and some of his friends were down for the rally, protest, whatever you want to call it, and they were standing with the group of people that was listening to the president, and because of the way things were set up, he was really hard. He couldn't hardly hear him. A lot of echo. So he just started turning around and looking at the crowd. He said, if there was not 1 million people there, he was stunned. I mean, large quantity of people. And as he turned around, he was just kind of eyeballing people. This guy is former military. He spent many years in the infantry. So, he said something like his spidey senses started tingling. And as he kind of scanned the crowd walking up behind his buddy, there were guys that were in the traditional Antifa uniform. The hoodie, the backpack, very organized, they were there for a purpose, and it wasn't to watch the president. So him and his friends decided to walk over towards the front of the Capitol, where they knew there was going to be more speakers and / protesters, yada, yada, yada. So he said by that point, there were literally thousands of people heading that way. And then he broke off into how he was in D.C. back in 2013 for a protest regarding the government shutdown. And he said when he was there with him and his buddies, nothing bad had happened all day. There was zero problems, which is good. I'm not saying that I want bad problems. But he said when we went to the same spot in 2013 that he went to today, there were row upon row upon row upon row of riot police. He's like, and that's how you're supposed to do it. You have multiple rows, so if the crowd starts to push against the front, they can back, and they have more people backing it up.
Yeah.
And that was for a completely peaceful protest. Well, as he got to where he was going to stand the next time around, where all the action was, where the Capitol was actually breached, or if that's the right word, he said there were contractors there building grandstands and scaffoldings and whatnot for the upcoming inauguration. And he said, I counted them. There was one single row of 40 riot cops. Not row upon row upon row upon row. One row of 40 cops. So, I don't want to say, if it was an inside job, but it sounds to me like the fix was in.
Well, it was. And some of the Democrats were questioning that if this was a Black Lives Matter movement, there'd been
bloodshed.
Yeah. Okay.
No, that hasn't happened yet. I mean, I don't understand how. Well, I know how rationally, but in my mind, that's like some pretty heated, incendiary comments. If you can't back that shit up, then you need to be held accountable. Just like they want to, the anti-Trumpers are saying Trump, he incited this riot with his talk. I haven't heard anything. It seems kind of funny that all these social media platforms are shutting down any videos from that, so nobody hears what he has to say.
Yeah, they don't want you to hear where he told the people that they're to go ahead and walk down there peaceably. Then after you get there, disperse and go home. Okay. Now I saw that on one of the broadcasts, and then after that, nobody's referring to it at all. Yeah, cannabis. I agree with you, George Soros. Why is he still breathing? That communist, well, Nazi Jew bastard that he is. I shouldn't have said that, but that's true. He got a start on his fortune by turning his own people in World War II. He was only about 10 or so when he started that, and he was paid by the Nazis so much for every person he turned in that was Jewish. And he was smart enough to invest his money in the Swedish bank. Leastwise, that's the information I have, and I haven't heard anybody dispute that. So,
He certainly is a shady character, that's for sure.
okay, Jack Flash. Mr. T just got online. He sent message in PM, whatever that means, PM.
Personal message, private message.
Private message. Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear you there, Mr. T. Now to see that you're on here, Mr. T, if you want to send us one on live chat, that's fine. I don't know what you had to do to get you on there, but that might be what you had to do. But so far, my connection here, guys, seems to be much steadier, and there has been no bars going across the top telling me that our connection is unsecure. So it might have been I had too many things trying to operate the same thing.
Too much junk in your trunk.
Yeah, too much junk. Anyway, so anyhow, oh gosh, I guess you could probably go on forever with all this stuff that's out there, but let's get to the meat and potatoes, especially this story that I have here. Let's get to the rat killing, okay? And let's blame this shit on the place where the blame goes. According to Sucklow to Newsmax TV, state legislators to blame for allowing votes to reach Congress. By Sloange Reiner. It's got to be Reiner, but Solange. I never could read right. I couldn't read either, so doesn't matter. State legislators are to blame for allowing the Electoral College votes to reach Congress, says Jay Sekulow, President Donald Trump's impeachment lawyer and personal defense attorney. Every one of these state legislators could have done this a month ago. They were all the ones to blame if you want to blame people, Sekulow said Wednesday during an appearance on Newsmax TV. John Beckman now, when asked about the best outcome following the objections to the Electoral College votes by more than 130 House representatives and at least a dozen GOP senators and Vice President Mike Pence, rejection to overturn the election Wednesday. Trump expressed disappointment in Pence for rejecting to overturn the election results, tweeting that he lacked the courage to block the Electoral College certification for President-elect Joe Biden, but which was paused after Trump supporters breached the U.S. Capitol. It's not vice presidents, it's not President Trump, it's not senators, it's not House of Representatives. There's not even enough House Republicans to do it. Even the same Senate Republicans are divided on this, but the state legislatures have the constitutional authority to say, you know what, our election was run contrary to law. We are going to put forward a different set of electors. None of those states did that, said Sekulow. They kept waiting first, or wanting first, back it up. They kept waiting first. They wanted the Supreme Court to do it for them and to tell them they had to do it. The Supreme Court didn't, and basically said you already had this power. Why do you need to be told why do you need to tell you to do it? Now they're looking for Mike Pence to do it for them. None of them have to wait. Okay? This is a perfect example of paid officials not doing what they're paid to do. And if they, especially in Pennsylvania, I can't speak for other states, but especially in Pennsylvania, when they had almost 200,000 more votes cast in the state of Pennsylvania than were legally registered voters. So give her, like they said, give her minus a 10% on that number. Still left 160,000 more votes than people were eligible to vote. Plus the fact that the Attorney General and the Governor arbitrarily changed the law about the ballots having to be in by close of the polls. That too is two strikes against the certification of the vote and why they should have been overturned. But there again, it's a case of the state legislatures not doing their job, and I can tell you the reason why. Because the number of electoral votes in the state of Pennsylvania, most of them come out of Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Harrisburg, Erie, and Scranton-Wilkes-Barre area. You got those 5 metropolitan areas, and they have the biggest number of representatives in the state legislature. So take that for what it is. Yeah, our fight will not be in Washington, D.C. no more. It's going to be at the local area. You're probably right. You can tell if the power is out due to a storm or an emergency, your life may depend on it. Yeah. Pay attention now, folks. Of course, I don't think you'll be seeing too much in the line of this shit until after January 22nd. Then hold on to your hats and put your seatbelt on because it's going to be a bumpy ride. Okay, Scotty.
I'm playing on my phone. I don't want to talk anymore.
Oh, well, okay. I'll just sit here and sleep. I just did that top story there.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I did.
The one you did, the top one is Rush Limbaugh.
Oh, no, what they do with the other one? I'll put it on the bottom. Anyway. Anyhow.
All right, I want to read one. Or do you want to talk more about that?
Well, let's talk more about that.
I don't feel I have enough knowledge about the way things are operated. They don't teach us stuff in civics class anymore.
Not anymore, no. The only reason I know about it is because they were still teaching that stuff in civics class and the role of the
Pardon the pun.
You know, of course that was 70 years ago now, or 60 years ago, 65 years ago. Yeah, in that neighborhood. But yeah, the popular vote is to tell the state legislatures what the people wish. But the state legislatures have the right to overturn that if they can find evidence, strong evidence of manipulation of the figures or cheating or fraud or whatever. And so anyhow, by not decertifying and calling for a special election, or just simply throwing the ballots out that came in after polls closed, hi, Mr. Dave.
I would have.
Dave Bowser from the Shippensville Gun Show. I was just telling the people about your show there earlier. So.
You know, I would have been. I don't necessarily want to say that I wanted the vote decertified. I would have been happy at least to have had a serious investigation, not just, and we've all seen the stories how, okay, we're shutting down the counting for tonight, and all the poll watchers leave, and then on video they start pulling boxes upon boxes upon boxes of ballots out from underneath tables and continue counting, and then voila, there's it goes from Trump to Biden, landslide.
Especially when Trump was leading by 80,000 or something.
Yeah, okay. Get the person on the stand, raise their hand. Yep, you know what? I screwed up. I forgot. I really wanted to get this done. That's why we did it that way. Okay, but at least people are being asked under oath. But it was never done and it won't be done.
Emmy just posted a thing here. 200 million people in the dark. It will be like the Stone Age here. Will the food go bad? Well, Emmy, to a certain point, the food's going to go bad. Anything that is frozen.
What are y'all talking about?
Things falling apart.
Oh, the infrastructure problem.
Yeah.
I got you. I didn't know if there was an
One of
actual.
the things they will probably do is shut the power off. Okay. Because that's the quickest way to get the people to come around, because they don't have alternate source of power, and most of these people in the big cities don't have an alternate source of food supply other than what's in their refrigerator or freezer, and that'll last about 2 to 3 days, a week maybe, depending on the temperature outside. So once that spoils, it's gone. So if they were not smart enough, this is what we've been harping on for months and years, buying some canned food, some long-term food, okay? And just because food has an expiration date on the can does not mean it goes bad that day. And anyway, it's a matter of planning, and like you said, Emmy, 200 million people in the dark. Yeah, the big cities are going to be hurting bad real quick within a short time if the power stays out that long. All except for those who happen to be smart enough to either put in a solar power system, a backup system, or whatever. Or they played it smart and bought some long-term dried food or canned food, especially the staples like meat and potatoes and stuff. And because you can go down, like I said, you can go down to Dollar General and you can buy. Yeah, I have a chest freezer. I don't have a solar panel. I have a solar panel, but I don't have enough solar system to back it up with. But that's okay, because I have probably a year, maybe a year and a half of food. Besides that, they'll probably kill me off long before that. So.
Yeah, and also, in addition to the food, you can go out and get a fairly inexpensive Coleman 2-burner, either propane or that white gas stuff. I mean, I eat a lot of cold food just because that's the way I like it. But every now and then, it's fun to be able to heat something up.
Here's an alternative for you. If you have a lot of frozen meat, you get it out and thaw it out and you jerk it.
Yep. Start drying.
Drying it, making jerky out of it. And it's fairly easy to do. Don't take a rocket scientist. And you'll be surprised how much you can dry out. The Indians didn't have a refrigerator or stove, so what did they do? They jerked their meat. They jerked their fish. They dried it in the sun. They salted it, and then they hung it up to dry. And we can do the same thing. I mean, just because we're modernized doesn't mean that there is not the technology out there to survive on. So there's all things that you need to think back on. And that. So, yeah, one of the reasons I feel the blackout will come out will be because it cuts down the ability of people to communicate, number one.
Yep. That's what's happening. People are, and we talked about this since the beginning of this coronavirus thing. But the first thing they did, they shut down churches, bars, restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
3 places historically where people get together and discuss and
Converse about what's going on.
good, bad, or indifferent.
Mm-hmm. So,
Oh, did you see that thing in the paper from the sheriff? It was last week. It was just a little blurb at the bottom. But our sheriff was commented or recorded as saying or was commented on that he will not enforce shutdown orders. He hasn't been given any yet, he said, but he will not enforce unconstitutional shutdown orders. Him and his people, which made me feel good. There's somebody on our side.
well, still. But how far are they going to back that up?
Well, I mean, if you start talking the attorney general coming in with state police,
You arrest the attorney general and the state police.
well,
Okay, that's pure and simple. You arrest them.
I'm just saying, there's you can say one thing, but there's only so much you can actually do.
Well, it's either that or if the state police come in, then try to enforce stuff like that. The people like Chicago. A guy went on a shooting spree in Chicago this weekend. Shot 7 people. Started out in South Chicago, and the police finally caught up with him and shot it out with him in North Chicago. In the meantime, he shot 7 people and wounded 1 police officer. Okay. We have a story here about Portland, Oregon, of all places. Nice, peaceful town that is. And they can't figure out why their murder rate has jumped something like 50 to 60%.
I'll read the story.
And I think that's what I read. And
All right. Portland sees record levels of fatal shootings not seen in 26 years. A series of fatal shootings in the past week have pushed Portland's homicides to 53 this year. This marks the most killings that the city has experienced since the early 1990s. Since Saturday, 4 people of color have been gunned down in North, Northeast, and Southeast Portland. The list includes 44-year-old marijuana dispensary employee Michael Arthur, 23-year-old Uber driver Dalfikar Kareem Masir, 53-year-old Kelly Marie Smith, and 16-year-old Abdushukri Urin. 3 of the shootings were the result of gang-related violence. The increase in shooting-related deaths has mounted in an extraordinary year when the Wuhan coronavirus pandemic, social justice protests, wildfires, and a contested presidential election have dominated headlines. But in Portland, 2 stark markers have stood out. The first is the fact that more than half the deaths were caused by shootings, 35. The second, 25 victims, nearly half of them, were people of color, including the past week's killings. Of these, 20 were black, 4 were Latino, and 1 was Asian. The remaining 27 were white. This has not been the theme or the topic to cover. It's been everything else, stated Nike Green, director of Portland's Office of Violence Prevention. How do we really portray the Black Lives Matter if, still in Portland, a disproportionate number of African American males are victims of gun violence? Portland Police Bureau Chief Chuck Lavelle estimated that Portland is averaging a shooting every 2 days. Averaging a shooting every 2 days. In a videotape message this week, he pleaded for people with any information on the killings to share it with police. The disparate impact of violence on our communities of color is shocking, he added. Our African American, Somali, Iraqi, Latino, and other communities are grieving the loss of loved ones. Apparently, the increase in shooting deaths in Portland reflects what's happening around the country. The rise in shootings in Portland reflects something that's been seen in other major cities across America this year, according to data provided by the Gun Violence Archive. I'm not going to read anymore because I just got pissed off. All they were talking about is how gun violence and people of color.
yeah, but they didn't tell you the reason.
Victims.
They didn't tell you the reason.
Because
they have those. It's happened because they cut the police presence.
They cut the police presence.
Okay, and the reason they cut the police presence is so this would happen, because this builds up momentum for the Democrats in January to start.
Bringing the law.
Okay, bringing in the law is right. So anyway, here's a question from Where to Go. Where'd that one go? I wanted to read was from Jack. Okay, here's from Jack. So back to what happened at the Capitol. How many of you were cheering, even that you knew it was most likely a false flag? Well, Jack, I have to say this. Up until the point that the rioting started, I was happy to see that there was people down there protesting.
Agreed.
Okay, but as soon as the rioting started, of course, at that point, I didn't know who was behind the rioting, but I had a good stinking suspicion who was behind the rioting. But anyway, at that point, I was not cheering. Okay, I wasn't cheering for the cops, but I was not cheering for the rioters either. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, if they can get a hold of the ringleaders of the rioters, including Soros, and prove it, that they arrest them and put them all in jail and never let them out till the bones, or the flesh rots off their bones.
Did you hear about that one idiot protester that got himself into the Capitol and died of a heart attack?
I didn't hear about him, but
he accidentally tased himself in the scrotum. He died of a heart attack.
That wasn't the police officer, was it?
No, it was just an old fat white guy. And I laugh because I have a twisted, morbid sense of humor, but that's just silly.
Well,
Tased himself in the balls.
Yeah, I guess that would be painful enough.
Yeah.
But so anyway, there's peaceful. Like I said earlier in the program, you have the right to peaceful demonstration. But once you turn violent and start doing bodily harm or physical damage to private property and public property, you have crossed the line, are now committing criminal acts, and therefore should be treated as criminals. You should not be treated as, let's just cut the police department down so that these people have a freer hand at doing what they're doing. Okay, and it's not just one town, it's happened in many, many, many cities. So, at that point, we got about 8 minutes before the first hour is over. Cheap way to get cheap thrills.
Yeah, I just want to know who. They're so focused on the victim, which is obvious. I mean, because that's the evidence they have. But who was the perpetrator? Who was doing the killing? They said a lot of it was gang-related, or some of it was gang-related. Well, if I can guarantee, if it was a white nationalist type gang, that would have been part of the headline.
That'd been the only thing you'd heard.
Only thing you heard, but no, it's these drug running knuckleheads out there killing each other and innocent people. All right, that's all I got.
Well, Jack, like we have been saying for years, the individual flashpoint is the individual flashpoint. It's whatever happens. Are you going to go to the aid of your neighbor when the cops show up to confiscate his guns, or are you going to sit back and say, they're getting his guns. If I be quiet, maybe they'll leave me have mine. Well, they might do that for a while. Or are you going to go to his aid and put the stop to it, or try to put the stop to it? How about the neighbors? Are they going to do the same thing? They're going to sit back and wait. The problem is the wait and seers are a major, major problem. And usually when the wait and seers wake up, things have gone so far that what could have been stopped early has turned into a major, major, major problem. And just ask the dead Jews of World War II. When they had the opportunity to take a hammer and smack a Nazi in the head with it when they were coming around and rounding them up, they would have been able to put a stop to that. But they didn't. So 6 million of their fellow man died. And it wasn't only just the Jews that Hitler targeted. He went after the
gypsies as well.
Yeah, went after the gypsies, went after the mentally ill, and
we'd have been in trouble, huh?
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, that's the question that each of us has to answer when the time comes. Now, me, I've always said that I'll fight, but because of my failing health, I can't run and chase after anything anymore. So I'm going to have to make it one of them defensive positions, and hope for the best. And but I am thoroughly aware of the fact that they will kill me. So that's fine.
What's the old adage? Better to die standing than live on your knees.
Yeah. So. Well, that's fine to play devil's advocate, Jack, and I'm glad to see you doing that because it does raise questions for people out there. If there are people out there listening, holy cow, we have 17 people tuning in onto our show right at the present moment. Holy moly, that's the most I've seen at one time for an active show. And that, so, okay, kids, I'm going to take and go down and see if I can bring us up some music and take a couple-minute break here. And so let's down that. Let's bring this up to this.
Be interesting to see how Hollywood plays this all out. I know they're very, very liberal. And I was just reading a story earlier about an indie pop artist, Ariel Pink, a guy. He had been tweeting how he had gone to DC for the rally and what have you, and even posted some stuff back in December about not being a MAGA guy, but anti-Biden. And guess what happened? His record label canned him because of his incendiary and hostile comments. We're going to be seeing that more and more. And it's horrific. If the tweet that they played was any indication of the kind of stuff he was saying, it wasn't really all that bad. He just said people are all dumb. If you're that smart and you still believe all this nonsense, you're fucking stupid. Pardon my language. Apologies. And he got himself fired for it. But what happens when all these people that are just making love to Biden, they start, there's always going to be a bunch of them that's just going to go with the flow, whatever it takes. At some point, what happens is, okay, you can't do that anymore. You can't make a movie with this star or that star, this director or that director. You have to use this person.
I did. Sorry, let me point out. don't have a record.
Remember the heroes when stories are told. They died in the thin red line. Thin red line. Stand steady in the ranks, boys. You gotta hold your fire. Show them what we're made of when they hit the wire. Now they're coming in the morning, boys. You gotta hold the line. You've been thinking of your loved ones. If you left back there, then the sound of the bugle is the tune I am. Now they're coming in the morning, boys. You gotta hold the line. You came for the glory, to fight and to die. You stood in the thin red line. Remember the heroes when stories are told. They died in the thin red line. The thin red
Push the
line.
button to clear it, and push the test strip in again, and this time the date and time would come on. But the little test strip, the symbol for the test strip wouldn't show up. So again, I'd have to pull it out and shove it back in, and this time the whole thing worked. And I didn't test. Well, then the next thing you know, the next time I went to do it, I had to do it all over again. So I replaced the batteries, figuring that might have been what it is. You know? That didn't so I'll try a new box of test strips. And then the box test strip up, did the same thing. I have a number of them. I haven't bothered to come and check the number.
With your comrades far across the sea, are you fighting for the empire? Did you die for me? Muslim boys, you gotta hold the line. You better sleep with your rifle, keep your powder dry. You be fighting for your country, see the colors fly. You gotta hold the line. You came for the glory, to fight and to die. You stood in the thin red line. Remember the heroes when stories are told. They died in the thin red line. You came for the glory, to fight and to die. You stood in the thin red line. Remember the heroes when stories are told. They died in the thin red line. Thin red line.
I'm over there. He's got one thing down. They're all sticking together, and the coating's coming off. Jesus, man. Great fun. It always happened in the middle of the night, and then he will. You call the any way you can get hold of the pharmacy and get me your refills, and I'm like, not at 2 a.m. I'm all about trying to help people keep their independence and all, but shit, man.
Another song, Log Rail.
sugar and the stroking bar slop.
I honestly believe that these leftist type organizations, like Soros's, people at his level, they're into the long game. He knows he's never going to see a victory. He'll just keep having this.
He'll get his rewards from the devil, is what he's figuring.
And that's just kind of me. But there's always going to be the next level, and eventually you're going to die off. They're going to ostracize you to the point where either I shut up, go the line, or I die. And that's just what they're going to keep doing. And they started this like 3 generations ago. Computer stuff. Operational schools and colleges. They know it's not going to happen fast. But to the Americans,
Not just like Biden. I mean, that guy, what was he, 76 years old? So, things for him are,
he's not going to be the president.
I know they're already talking about it as run for 4 years. 23.
Fucking 193 years old.
Hey, I'll pay for your bar tab and leave the cab, baby.
Yeah, we'll be coming back in about a week. Okay. Who's back? You want to turn your mic on?
It is on.
Oh, okay.
Sorry for going on a rant over that song earlier. I didn't realize that the song had come on, and I'm just blabbering away like a damn fool. Big surprise there, huh?
Yeah. Here's one from. We can still hear you during the top of the hour break. Not bitching, just did not know if it was part of the new format or part of the big plan.
Oh yeah. All planned out.
And all planned out. If you like it, we'll do that again next week.
Oy.
Okay, let's get down here to where the last of these are. Oh, I'm looking for Mr. Joe to give Kamala Harris a great big pat on the ass. Right there in front of everybody. Yeah.
Start smelling her hair and
Yeah. So, okay, where are we at? Did you throw that one away you did?
yeah.
Did you read the one about Rush Limbaugh?
Nope. I most certainly did not.
Well, we got about 3, maybe 4 stories left. I've been a little slow at doing stuff this week, kids, for major reasons. Quite a few reasons, actually. But I know some of you listen to Rush Limbaugh, so um, we're going to do a story for him. I don't get him, so I can't. The only time I can get him is when I find his story on, this is on Newsmax. Okay, Sandy Fitzgerald. Washington Swamp and the House Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, are scared out of their board about President Donald Trump's remaining days in office, according to radio talk show host Rush Limbaugh. The hatred is visceral. Visceral. Okay. Limbaugh said on his show Friday, "You can touch it, you can see it, you can see it steaming from the electrodes on these Democrats' heads. I've never seen personal animosity like this. I mean, it's almost to the point of uncontrollable and unpackageable." House Democrats have drafted a second impeachment of Trump. Several media outlets reported Friday listing just one charge: incitement to insurrection for the Washington protest on Wednesday that breached the Capitol building. They've got 11 days to do this, so they've got to call the House together. Then they got to get the Senate to go ahead and convict for this, and then they want a proviso that Trump cannot seek a presidency ever again. Presidency ever again, said Limbaugh. That doing this is going to result or pressure the cabinet and Vice President Mike Pence to invoke the Amendment 25, but Pence has said that he's not going to do this. The push is coming because the entire Washington establishment is scared to death of Trump, said Limbaugh. The 4-year coup, the 4-year effort to get the election results of 2016 overturned. There are all kinds of people who broke the law, all kinds of people who are quaking in their boots, he added. They're worried silly that Trump is going to unleash some of these classified documents. And you know what? That's his presidential prerogative. That, hey, go ahead. If it's gonna punch them right in the gut, give them a sucker punch, give it to them. Let's see. Limbaugh also said the establishment is terrified that Trump will pardon people dangerous to them. The people in Washington establishment, why did they want to stop Trump in the first place? Because they didn't want what they have been up to, which is no good, for years to ever come out, said Limbaugh. They're worried to death that he's got a card or two to play here yet, including the pardon power. He added that there was likely a big sigh of relief when Trump said he would not go to Biden's inauguration. Imagine if he decided to release a bunch of classified documents right before the inaugurations, Limbaugh said. Normally, the Senate would be using the first few weeks to hold hearings on Biden's cabinet choices. Limbaugh also said they would, so they can be confirmed by senators on Inauguration Day, but not this year. 2 long, nervous weeks for the Democrats, Limbaugh said. Major potential power vacuum. They are scared, folks. Do not doubt me on this. That's it. He's got it right. They are scared. Why are they scared? Trump has information on them that might make their gallbladder turn cold.
Why didn't he put that out before, though?
Well, I don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Maybe he wanted to try and get this done through the proper channels and not divide the country anymore, and it was divided. Who knows? We don't know. But all I can say is if I had documents that would incriminate these bastards, you can bet I would release them before I left office. Because even if it doesn't overturn the election, it will take the power away from them because they now have to defend themselves rather than pushing on forward. And that would be the case. They lose their influence, maybe. Oh, it is. G.I. Joseph, we have doubled our viewers in this hour. Everyone here, reach around and give yourselves a good pat on the back. Well, some of them left, but that's okay. Yes, here, G.I. Joseph. Jack, I think I heard that President Johnson was the last to not attend the new presidential ceremony. Okay, so anyway, yeah, at one point in our show we were up to 17 people, so but we're now down to 11. So
One of those is probably me that backed out. I closed out.
well, that's fine, but still, when you have 17, like I said, that's more than we've had for a long time on the lifetime thing. But the replays, people going back and looking at our shows from last week, they're the first hour had 36 new hits on it, and the second hour had 21. So we'll see what happens here.
Yeah, how did last week's show go? I wasn't here for that one. Was I? No.
Yeah, I think you were. Maybe you weren't.
What was the one after Christmas I didn't come?
Yeah.
All right, yeah, piss off.
Yeah. Kiss off. Kiss them off, folks. He said kiss them off.
I said piss off.
Piss off. Anyway. Well, I don't want to get people's hopes up. Tell you what, if you want to do this one, Scott.
Sure. All right. The title of this article is Defund the ATF. Conservatives and politicians push to get ATF defunded and dismantled for anti-gun policies and actions. Conservatives and other pro-Second Amendment activists in the United States are once again pushing for the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, ATF, long considered to be a very anti-gun federal agency, to be defunded. The issue is being raised as pro-gun activists around the country are fearing the possibility of a Joe Biden presidency. The Democratic nominee is poised to unveil a series of very strict gun control measures should he enter the White House. Gun activists do not doubt that Biden will use the ATF as the main federal agency to enforce these policies. The possibility of gun confiscations and other anti-gun actions became even more apparent after the ATF raided Ohio gun manufacturing company Polymer 80 on December 10th.
Yeah, we did a story on that.
The company, which manufactures unfinished frames and receivers known colloquially known as 80% parts, has been accused by the ATF of selling ghost guns that may have been used in hundreds of criminal activities, including robbery, homicide, domestic violence, and kidnapping. Ghost guns are firearms that do not have licensing serial numbers or the mark of a manufacturer. Polymer 80 sells a product known as a buy, build, shoot kit, which includes all the parts necessary to build a ghost gun. In a report leaked to AmmoLand, the ATF said in a conference call that the agency's acting director and associate deputy director, Regina Lombardo and Marvin Richardson, have already been in contact with Biden's transition team to get the agency's top priorities. Lombardo reportedly told those on the conference call that her main goal will be to confiscate pistol braces and 80% lower receivers. To fight the ATF, many conservatives are now adopting a slogan of the liberal left and are calling for the ATF to be defunded. Outspoken gun advocate and newly elected member of the House of Representatives for Georgia's 14th District, Marjorie Taylor Greene, has been part of this new push to fight the ATF. On December 14th, the member elected tweeted, 10 years ago today, U.S. Border Patrol agent Brian Terry was murdered in cold blood with a gun provided to Mexican drug cartels through Barack Obama and former Attorney General Eric Holder's ATF, Fast and Furious program. The ATF is an oppressive government agency that should be defunded and eliminated. Green added during an interview with alternative news outlet Washington Examiner that the ATF's actions will inevitably lead to many small businesses shutting down. This puts good people out of work and represents an attack on the Constitution. The member-elect then explained that as soon as she is inaugurated as a member of the next House of Representatives, her main goal will be to cut government, not expand it, and that the first federal agency she will try to put on the chopping block will be the wait for it, ATF.
ATFE. That faggots.
Gun rights organizations have also voiced their support for the movement to defund the ATF. Eric Pratt, Senior Vice President of Gun Owners of America, strongly criticized the ATF's recent move to embrace this proposal. Under the proposal, they intend to classify every AR platform pistol that features a stabilizing arm brace as an NFA weapon, which is subject to registration and taxation. Pratt said that the ATF was out of control and that nobody can hold the agency, which he believes should not exist in the first place, to account for their actions. He further accused the ATF of turning honest gun owners into criminals. If there were any lingering questions as to how far the ATF has gone off into the deep end, this document settles it, said Pratt, referring to the proposal to reclassify firearms with stabilizing arms. The ATF is the embodiment of the word infringement, and the GOA is prepared to combat its actions at every turn. Excuse me. GOA will rally the grassroots to fight these. Fight these regulations, and if they eventually go into effect, we will commence immediate legal action to protect gun owners. The National Rifle Association, reacting to the policies against pistol stabilizing braces in the raid on Polymer 80, said they have no doubt the agency has already signaled their willingness to work with Biden and Kamala Harris to squeeze gun owners more. Gun owners know elections have consequences, they wrote on social media accounts. This is why we must fight to protect the pro-gun Senate majority in the runoff race in Georgia. Obviously, the article came out before the Georgia runoffs.
Yeah. Here's a comment from G.I. Joseph. PA District Attorney Shapiro will be emboldened. He is scared of ghost guns. They can actually go through solid walls. Ghost.
Go.
Ghost.
Boogity, boogity, boogity.
Yeah. What there was only 2 handguns that were actually what I call handguns that were having polymer frames made for, or 80% receivers made for. One was a Glock, and the other one was for the 1911. Okay, they were making. Okay, now the so-called AR-15 handgun with the stabilizing bar. It's not really a stabilizing bar. That's a recoil bar for the bolt to slide back in. Okay. As far as the AK goes, that's all done inside the housing there. It don't go back. So folding stock type thing. Okay. But remember I said years and years ago that an ATF agent was on the stand in court telling the judge that anybody's hand can be a handgun. He says, I can take a 50 caliber round and put it in my hand and hit that primer with a hammer and it'll go off. It most certainly will. And take your hand with it. But the judge was not smart enough to say, okay, is that how is that it? I want proof. I want video. In fact, I want to be there when you actually take that and do it. I want physical proof. And yes, Casper the friendly 9mm. And so, anyway, yeah, there's been a push, even with Trump, to stop the sale of these 80% lower receivers, regardless of whether it was for the AR-15 or for the handgun, the Glock, or the 1911, because you are legally, by the graces of the government, allowed to build one gun a year for yourself without having to put a serial number on it or register it with the government. So that's how the polymer receiver came about, was because of that law where you can. And plus the fact, if you had an AR-15 and something goes wrong with the receiver, you'd have to buy a whole new gun in order to get a new receiver. This way, by buying a polymer, you can finish it off yourself and put it on there. And you don't have to spend $500 or $600 or $700 to get a new receiver put on there.
Guns are bad anyhow. I got rid of all mine years ago.
Yeah.
I don't have none.
The only one I got is this one right here. My little flamethrower, but
Little pew-pewer.
yeah, my little flamethrower doesn't throw much flame anymore. Yeah. Gather around the fire and tell tales back when we had firearms. My arms never were on fire.
I did once. Yeah, we got into a bit of time when I was in the barracks in the Army where we realized if you doused your hand in like Zippo lighter fluid and let it, and then you put it out real quick, it really wouldn't hurt you. It got bad.
Didn't go out just as quick as you thought.
Well, we started with just a finger. And the next thing you know, guys dousing their chests and their feet are on.
No.
Oh,
Yeah.
it went down the road to ruination quickly.
Yeah. Uncle Bob, you mean you haven't replaced them yet, Uncle Bob? You told me that when we saw you a couple of years ago, that you lost all your guns in a kayaking accident. And I would have thought you'd have had that taken care of. Oh, that was probably shortly before you retired, and you didn't have any money. Money.
I saw a meme on the Facebook machine the other day that said something to the effect that scientists have figured out why the sea levels are rising is because of all of these boating accidents.
Displacement of water.
I'm just saying, it made me chuckle.
Yeah, there's got to be something to that. I mean, if a ship goes down, sinks, there's a certain amount of displacement that the material will have. And if you get, they said there's something like over 1 million wrecks over the years in the seas.
Oh my.
Yeah. And so with over 1 million wrecks, you would think that would raise something. And that, so tell the tales of Paul Revere and friends. Well, they won't be coming by sea, they're already here. So they'll be coming by land. And what was the light? Oneth by land, oneth by land, twoeth by sea. Something how that goes. I may have it reversed, but whatever it is. I don't know what you said, but Jack was saying, yeah, Scott, undocumented sun rays that found overnight. Chi-coms, yes.
You were talking about the one if by land, two if by sea thing?
Yeah.
I recalled reading a very, very good biography on Paul Revere.
Yeah.
And this particular author called into question the old, the British are coming, the British are coming.
Yeah.
He said that wouldn't have happened. He said because at the time, these folks still kind of considered themselves British subjects, what he would most likely have said are the regulars are coming. The regulars are coming, as in the regular army versus. So I just thought that was an interesting point to ponder.
Well, it's an interesting point of thought. I wasn't there, and neither was his.
Nope.
So what I can understand is unless you are able to find a uniform of that period that the redcoats were wearing, okay, because that's what they would be wearing. The British were wearing red coats. Then that would be British. I don't care what they are, whether they're mercs or enslaved troops or whatever. Okay.
But what he's saying is because the colonists can still essentially consider themselves British subjects.
Some of them, but those that were the patriots that were already being persecuted would not have done that. They would have gone with the British are coming, the British are coming, to rally the patriots. And, the commies are coming. Go ahead. Yeah. Yeah, the commies are coming. Actually, Dave, the commies are already here. I don't know if you were here last week when I explained my theory about the Chinese restaurants. That almost every major town has a Chinese restaurant, 2 or 3. And if you ever go in there, you pay attention, and you will see that about every 6 months or so, they got a whole new staff. Okay, so they rotate
Glad you
them
bring
out.
this up.
They rotate them out, and the only one that I didn't see the manager get rotated out for quite a while was the one at the Park Avenue Plaza.
She's still down there.
She's still down there, but the personnel.
My wife has been watching a lot of these. She's big into TikTok now, and she's got a bunch of conservative types that she's starting to pay attention to. And there's this guy on there. He was funny as hell. And he was talking about how a buddy of his that he was talking to asked, did you hear about these ranchers like out in Wyoming and Utah and whatnot? No, it was Oklahoma. These ranchers, all these ranches are being bought up by these Chinese companies at like 2 and 3 times their value. And he's like, what the hell? I haven't heard any of this. But please, I'm on a roll. Let me go.
Go ahead.
And then, so he was over, and he was saying that he was at another buddy's house, and he starts telling him this that he had heard, and he's like, oh, you didn't hear about down in the Bahamas either. He's like, what do you mean? Apparently, the Chinese government has been just throwing money around down there, grants and loans and incentives, so they could build a military base in the Bahamas and Barbados and whatnot. So not only are they buying up these gigantic ranches out west, they are building a shipping area in our back door.
Yeah, there's. I read about that several years ago about that in Bahamas. They were dredging the harbor to make it bigger and deeper because it could only accommodate certain size ships. Well, in order to
Bigger, deeper.
Yeah, deeper. Okay, so everybody wants to know why they were doing that. Well, what do you think? You've got an enemy over there that wants domination of the world. I don't know how much control they have gained into Panama, but I think that they are now in control of the Panama Canal Zone, and then they were spending billions of dollars to build that island off their coast. I guess it's sinking.
Oh, I believe it. You just can't build something like that.
No, well, you can, but by God, you got to put a foundation down for it to stay there. You just can't take and start piling rocks upon rocks upon rocks. Excuse me. and expect them to stay there when you have underwater currents or storms coming through. And
Mother Nature will do her thing.
Yeah. And also, I heard that down in San Diego, the Chinese have a fairly large piece of land for containers, ship containers. Okay. And but getting to that piece of the land that you're talking about, yeah, they were doing it. I believe it was up in Montana, where they were buying up large stretches of land in one certain area, and they were going to cordon it all off and build a Chinese self-sufficient Chinese community. Their own electric source, their own food source, their own government, the whole 9 yards. They're going to wall it all off. Why? Because that gives them a base of operation to spread out. And don't think that over the years I haven't been paying attention and coming up with some really tough theories that that could possibly work if you have the financial backing. And unfortunately, the people in this country keep giving the Chinese money. And you say, well, how are they doing it? Well, number one, our government by giving them grants. Vis-a-vis one of the grants, that's why we now have Wuhan. And the other is people shopping at Wally World. Well, how's shopping at Wally World putting money in the Chinese Communist pocketbook? Look at the product list. Where is it made? It is made in China. And who owns the industry in China? 7 military warlords. They own everything. And they run everything. So, I know people say, well, I can't get it any cheaper. Yeah, you can. Because you can go buy, you may have to pay twice as much somewhere, but you'll be, number one, keeping an American person working. And number two, you'll get a product that 9 times out of 10 will last 3 times or 4 times as long as that cheap Chinese shit that you bought. And I personally don't like a foreign power having control over my food supply. And
I like General Tso's chicken, though.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
General's Toes?
General Tso, T-S-O.
Oh, I thought
General
you said
Tso.
tones.
General Tso.
Stones.
So, T-S.
Toes.
Toes.
Christ! Toes. General Toes.
Christ, I'm going to have an episode right here. My pants are coming off.
General Chicken Toes. Yeah, that government, according to the Constitution, is still all we need. Well, that's all we need. Yes, it is. I agree with you there, Jack, but the problem is too many of our younger brothers and older communist educated idiots are selling that theory down the river. Yes. The only way the Constitution can be kept in power is if the people are willing to stand up and enforce it. If you're not willing to stand up and enforce it, then it's going to be eroded from you. And that's where you have to start on your local level. I know we bitch and moan and complain about what's going on with the feds, but you have to start at your local level, especially with your state representatives. You need to get on their ass. Okay, and just keep pounding away at them. And just tell them, hey, if you don't do this, you won't be here next time. The other thing is, even though they don't have term limits, let's impose term limits on them. 2 times and you're done. Okay, you might as well not even run for the 3rd time. 2 times you are done. Because if it's the 3rd time, you won't even be allowed on the ballot. Now, if you want to go to the other side of the thing, if you're a representative, you want to go to the Senate, well, you can go run for 2 terms in the Senate. But 2 times and you're out. And I think with the local governorship, though, I think 1-term limit, that they should sit out 1 term. And if they want to come back, they can come back and try a 2nd term. But
Yeah, this, 30 years in the Senate and House of Representatives, just amassing this enormous amount of wealth. It's absurd.
we have here somebody saying, if they defund the ATF, who will look after alcohol and tobacco? Well, the producers of the alcoholic beverages, for one, they'll see to it that it's still distributed. And the people that grow tobacco, I'm pretty sure that they would be glad to continue to see it distributed and made into cigarettes or pipe or tobacco. So that part we don't have to worry about there, Emmy. Besides that, the IRS is a tax collecting agency. The ATF was also supposed to be a tax collecting agency. But then the federal government armed them like they have all the federal bureaus now. And so they're now armed, and the ATF has an inferiority complex. They have to go out and show how tough they are. And I know when they developed those multi-jurisdictional task force, the other agencies that were involved with them did not like dealing with or working with the ATF because they were a bunch of bastards. So I know I probably related this years ago to the kids years ago. When I first opened up my shop, the ATF would come down and see my shop, approve my license, and went about his merry old business. I was doing business for about 5 years, and I decided to get into black powder. So I had to get a magazine, have them come down and approve the powder or magazine. So I got the paperwork, got approved, magazine passed inspection, started selling black powder. Well, about somewhere around 10 years after that, they came out with this program called Project Forward Trace. Now I'm trying to think, I think that was under the Clinton administration, but I'm not sure. But anyway, what they were starting to do without congressional approval was they were going around and taking the names, inspecting the books of the gun dealers, because they were theoretically once a year unannounced. They can come down and check your books. If they want to come down again, they have to call and make an appointment. So anyway, they started this Project Forward Trace. Well, they hadn't been down to my shop in 15 years. And the agent comes in and I showed him my books, and he's see him starting to write names down. I says, "What are you doing?" He says, "Well, I'm writing down names of people who bought certain types of firearms. ARs, Mini 14s, shotguns, Remington, Mossberg, Winchester shotguns, okay?" And I says, "You can't do that." "Well, we're doing it." I says, "You can't do that. Congress come along and just a month or two ago said that you cannot do that you have to stop." And I says to him, "You're not," he says, "Well, what are you going to do about it?" I said, "Well, first of all, you're not leaving here with that list." I says, "If I have to, I'll call the county sheriff and have him come out here and confiscate that from you, because you're not allowed to do that. You're breaking federal law yourself, and you're supposed to be federal law enforcement."
Yeah.
Okay. So he takes and he tears that up, So he goes and starts starting over again, and he's going down his writing. He says, I don't see where you charged any excise tax on these guns that you did the custom alterations for. I said, I'm not required to. I said, I make less than 50 guns a year, and under your own guidelines, I don't have to collect tax on 50 if I make less than 50 guns a year. And so he got a little pissed there. And so then he wanted to see my logging manual, loading manual. So I showed him my loading manual, and he's, well, I don't see where you collected any sales tax here. Or not sales tax, excise tax. I said, no. I says, I loaded this stuff together for the customer. The customer already paid and brought me the bullets and the powder and the primers and the brass to put it together for him. I said, so I don't have to pay or collect an excise tax. He says, well, you're going to have to. And he says, what are you going to do about it? And I said, well, I am going to call my congressman, my state legislators, and even the sheriff. I'm going to write him a letter. And so I did all that, and they sent me a letter about 2 weeks later telling me that I owed them approximately $21,000 in back excise tax that I didn't collect. And so I wrote back and said, I explained it to your agent that I didn't owe this. And I sent the letter that they sent me. I made copies of it, and I sent it to the state legislatures, the sheriff, my representatives in both the House, the Senate, and House of Representatives in Washington, and the governor of the Pennsylvania, who happened to be Ridge, I do believe. Don't hold me accountable. So I didn't hear nothing, and I didn't hear nothing, and I didn't hear nothing, and I made a mistake of forgetting to renew my black powder license. So I had to send in for a new application to get my magazine reapproved. So the agent come down and he looked at it and he says, "Yeah," he says, "I really wouldn't have had to come down here, but being that it's a new application, I know the magazine, so it passed last time, so I'll approve it." And he says to me at the parting shot was, "You know, you caused quite a stir in Washington." And I said, "I did." And he says, "Yeah." I said, "Over what?" He says, "About the excise tax, on the guns and the reloading or the ammunition." And I said, "What was the results of that?" Because I didn't hear that. We were told to leave you alone. Okay, that's the phrase he used. Not leave you gun dealers alone, but just leave you alone. Not that I'm figuring that he was crediting me with all the hostility, but maybe he was. And so, but I never seen him again. And then,
You want some more water?
yeah, can you give me some water? I'm having a little dry spot. Well, it's because I'm talking too much.
One or two.
Yeah, I have to agree with G.I. Joseph to Emmy. We have become the land of the free and home of the slave. We've been that way, a slave for a long time, because look how much money goes out for taxes.
Well, typical politician. The rules are for thee, not for me.
Yeah.
You don't need guns, but they have an armed security. Oh, we got to close down all these beauty shops. Well, my name's Nancy Pelosi. I need my hair done. So you have to do it for me.
So anyway, well, kids, I got a question for you while we have a couple minutes to respond. Did you have any buffering tonight? Because I noticed nobody was making any comments about buffering, and I didn't see any warnings on there, so it just might have been too much garbage on this particular site trying to get getting connected and that. But yeah, that's what I've heard. That once the president gets in and gets things settled, that we will be receiving another $2,000 check. Of course, I haven't received the $600 one yet. That's what I want. That's something. Have any of you out there received yours yet? They have a site called Get My Check or Get My Payment. So I went there Friday and punched in my information, and I come back. Can't tell you when it's going to be. We have no information on that as of yet. So I punched in the wife's. Okay, now we filed jointly. I punched in her name, and it came up. It was mailed on January the 6th, and it should be arriving any day now. So I'm scratching my head. Well, how in the hell could they do that if she got it on January 6th? Unless the rioting stopped the process in the post office. I don't know. But anyway, they, as of Friday night, they still hadn't processed my check. So, but I told Mom we're going to hang on to yours when it gets here. We're going to hang on to that, and when mine gets here, we're going down and pay my car off. That'll give us a little bit of breathing room, and I can start putting a little bit of money away for the property tax each month. Not much, but a little bit. And then if they don't shut the gun shows down, then I'll
You just need to start hosting craft fairs.
yeah, well, that's the idea of the gun shows. I don't have a craft, and I don't think they want me to sit up in the middle of the town square loading ammo for people. That's a craft. Jack Flash come back and said the show was great, 5x5. Got a new bug outside, Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Mine is to the east of here into the hinterland of Pennsylvania. And yeah, well, property tax is rent. And if you don't pay it, the landlord comes and kicks your ass out, which happens to be either, in my case, the township or the county or the school district. And I'll tell you the truth, my property tax for the township and the county, I can handle. It's that damn tax for the school tax that kills me. And the sad part right here in Pennsylvania, we have no say. The school board can say, "Oh, we're going to need to raise our property tax by 2 mills," and they don't have to put it on the ballot. They can do it whatever, unless they get people to start protesting. And I've had people ask me,
Anarchists.
why aren't you protesting the taxes now that you? I said, man, I am too old to do that. Well, I'm not too old. I'm just too old to plan it and execute it and be there. I need younger people, but I can't get younger people because they're too scared. And that, so. I don't think you will see that happen, GI. What happens is if the Patriots decide that they're all boycott and diverse and sanction those who accept the mark of the co-ed vaccine. Some of them have to take it through no fault of their own, regardless of whether they want it or not. Because I've seen reports where nurses in some hospitals are refusing to take it. And so it boils down to a question of necessity for a job. That's the part that they hold over your head. You want to work, you're going to have to take this vaccine.
And it was put out by the EEOC, Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, or whatever, that
Yeah.
the making the COVID mandatory, making the vaccine mandatory for employment is okay. It's constitutional. You can do that. Thankfully, my employer has yet to do that.
Well, here's the last quick shot because we have only 5 minutes. I'm not going to read the whole thing, just the headlines. I got 2 headlines I'll read you. Pentagon activates 6,200 National Guard troops. Some of them are for Pennsylvania, and they will be stationed in Washington, D.C. till the 30th, at least twice till the 30th of January, and they will be allowed to carry their guns on while on duty. Okay.
But will they give them ammo?
I don't know what they're going to give them. Probably send them out there without any ammo.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. The Democrats have gotten rid of the long-standing House rule known as motion to recommit that permits the minority party to challenge legislation on the floor before a vote. Pelosi changes House rules to squelch Republicans. So you see how they do this. You got the Democrats who are in control, and if the Republicans want to say something, they can't do it because the Democrats are in control and say, no, you can't do it. Okay? And there's a House rule that allows them to do that, but now they're suspending that House rule. Okay, kids. That's about it for tonight. We are down to a little less than 3 minutes. So, any last parting shots there, Scott?
Nah, just look out for yourselves, look out for your neighbors, stay healthy, take your vitamins, try to get some exercise.
Okay, well, I don't have much to add to that other than go to the store and buy canned foods, especially the canned meats and dried foods, rice, macaroni. Make sure you pack up the rice and macaroni so it don't get wet. It'll last a long time. In fact, I just opened up a bag of rice that we bought back in 2099 here the other day, a box of it, and it tastes just the same as it did back then. So buy more food, and if you can, get to the gun shows and pick up those final things that you need in the line of ammo and magazines if they're still there. Ammo is still harder than a brick shit house to find. So, you know what you need to do if you have any in your area. So, okay, well, we're going to close down. We are done for the night. We will see you next week, Lord willing, the creeks don't rise. And I'm happy with the way the show ran tonight because we didn't have any buffering or any messages on my end. So maybe cleaning out whatever it was that I had going on here. It would be, it was beneficial. So we will talk to you next week. Good night, kids.